destination that's included and not needing the ultra, so getting to YouTube. So in here, what's cool is it'll allow you to choose which output to go to. So if you want to stream YouTube vertical, click on vertical. So now you're going TikTok vertical and YouTube vertical, and then you just confirm and go live. You want to do YouTube horizontal, horizontal to YouTube, and vertical to TikTok. Do that. If you want to go horizontal, horizontal, you can do that as well.
All right, everybody, welcome. I am streaming live from my new studio, The Nest, and tonight is going to be a brief stream, mainly focused on some of the questions that have come up with clients recently, married clients, single clients, and clients that have situationships and complicated circumstances. So you are absolutely positively welcome to hang out. We're going to get started. I'm just doing a little bit of housekeeping right now. So you are absolutely positively welcome. There is a teeny bit of a delay, so you may catch me pausing here and there to make sure that I can be heard. But basically, I want to get into some general relationship conversations that have come up, because the questions that I'm being asked, thankfully, keep coming up. It's the same questions over and over. And I find it to be really telling, because at the end of the day, it tells me that people are having the same problems over and over. So one of the big questions that's come up lately for some folks, not clients of mine, and they're coming to my TikTok lives, and I give some free relationship advice there. I'm getting a lot of the same questions, so I wanted to address some of them. Let's start at the the very interesting conversation that I got recently, which revolved around a gentleman. We'll call him Abraham. And if you don't know me by now, you'll know that all my stories are always Abraham and Sarah, Jacob and Rachel, Isaac and Becky. And generally speaking, I don't share people's names ever. It's just not a thing I do. Unless, by some stroke of luck, they've agreed to let me, to have me share their information. So this gentleman, we're going to call him Abraham, he jumped on one of my TikTok lives, and he was wanting some help and some guidance with his relationship. He had what do you call it? Oh God, I don't want to be tacky, but he had a daughter with a woman, and they were not in a relationship together at all. And they hadn't been for quite a number of years. They were just together in terms of co-parenting. And there is a 11-year age gap between them. She is 11 years older than him. She's got incredibly stressful, traumatic baggage that she has not dealt with. And I'm using trauma with a capital T, because truly, she's She's experienced some trauma that would make anyone potentially lose their minds. And, she's not gotten help for it, unfortunately. So it's impacting their relationship, obviously. And so now, it's been 9 years later, and he wants very much to determine if there's any viability to this relationship. He was very honest, and he said he has 3 children. They're all by 3 different women. He said that he knows it's a pattern in his family. His father exhibited the same pattern. And, he's aware of it. And so he came to me. He said, listen, I don't know what to do. I care about her, and I don't feel like myself when we are apart. I don't feel right if we're apart, but when we're together, quote, we fight like cats and dogs. What that tells me is, it tells me a lot, but I had to ask a whole lot more questions because there's a lot to discern, and you can't give advice unless you have full context. So a lot of what I was asking was contextual in terms of his relationship, what he's done in the past, what experiences he's had, and what he looks for in a partner. Because he's reaching this age now where he's finally hit his 30s, and he's a parent. He has a fairly stable job. He's wanting to move forward in his life. These are realistic, reasonable things. And he's like, Nama, do I have, is it possible that I could have a relationship with her? And I asked him point blank, are you in therapy? Because number one, I'm not a therapist. I make that abundantly clear. That's why my podcast, Becoming Better with Naama, is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, because I believe in therapy wholeheartedly, and I am not a therapist, and I think everybody should be in therapy. Especially if you've suffered big T trauma or little T trauma. And he said no, he's not, and he doesn't know how to approach somebody and initiate a therapeutic relationship. And I offered to help him offline, and that's a whole nother conversation. And it's very difficult to be able to engage with somebody as a therapist and they're effectively a stranger and you have to pour your heart out. It's a lot. Me personally, I've never had that problem, but some people do. And so, I asked him if she was in therapy. He said, no, not at all. He's asked her to go to therapy and she won't. I said, okay. And what it came down to was that he didn't actually want a relationship with her. He was seeking a relationship that was akin to what he was used to from his past. We crave familiarity. And unfortunately, if we are given shitty relationship role models as kids, that's what we crave. It's super cliche, but at the end of the day, they say a woman will look for a man who reminds her of her father. And a man will look for a woman who reminds him of his mother. And that doesn't mean that they're looking for them because that's their ideal and they know it and they love it and that's what that makes them so happy. No, it means that's what they gravitate towards because that was where normal was established. So this guy in particular, this Abraham, I said to him, listen, from what you're telling me, your dad had a bunch of kids from different women. He was never around. He caused a lot of fighting and arguing and frustration and shouting and whatever at home. Guess what? This is not new. You are not special. This is a sick symptom of a much sicker, larger societal problem where we're not raising healthy children, or at least we haven't been until this point. Please God, let us move forward and let us start raising healthy children. But regardless, he's now in a position where he knows he needs to improve. He knows he wants something better in his life. And he's thinking that it's this woman. Now, again, she's had trauma with a capital T. Capital T. This is serious, like life and death stuff that I'm not going to get into. You cannot form healthy relationships, especially intimate partnerships, with someone who has big T trauma that is unresolved and they are not seeking a higher level of care. What that's going to do is it's going to put you in a position where you are sacrificing your sanity and giving up your peace so that you can help balance out the equilibrium that they are incapable of bringing to the table. So I don't mean money, I don't mean resources. I mean both of you need to bring something to the table in terms of mind-body health, balance, and in terms of emotional maturity and emotional functionality. And if that person has big T trauma, you're not going to be able to have a healthy relationship with them. I don't care who they are. At the end of the day, one of you is going to be pouring and one of you is going to be a cup with a hole in it. And it's not going to be equitable and it's not going to be fair. And eventually the one who's giving will be tapped out. And I told him that. And he agreed, and he was very bummed out, but he understood what I was saying. And I said, listen, at the end of the day, your kid is under 10 years old. You still have a chance to model for this kid what a man should be, with or without her mother's input, with or without, being in a united partnership with her as an intimate partner. You can still model healthy co-parenting. You can still model respect to her. You can still model for your son or daughter, what keeping promises looks like and what, discipline looks like and on and on. Don't mind the baby. You can still do your part. You can still show up every week and pick them up and bring them candy or flowers or a gift or take them out to dinner. You can still, come by, on a birthday and take them out to lunch. Like, you can still do all the things a wonderful father needs to be doing, whether or not this woman is your lifetime partner. And he's sort of hemmed and hawed about it. And ultimately it really comes down to, he doesn't know how. So it makes him uncomfortable. So he's immediately putting up some roadblocks and speed bumps and saying, oh, well, I would like to, but I don't know how. I would like to, but I don't know how. Well, that's all well and good. But guess what? We're humans. We have this really amazing brain, and it teaches us all kinds of ways to get things done that we've never done before. Also, there's amazing technology today called YouTube, and YouTube can teach you how to do all kinds of things you never thought you could do before. I know how to make cheese and yogurt because of YouTube. So if I can learn how to make cheese and yogurt, you can certainly go on YouTube and type in the words, how to be a great dad, or small steps you can take to become a better dad. Or better yet, go to ChatGPT and say, listen, I'm a single parent. I don't live with my kid. I visit my kid. Can you give me some advice? Guess what? ChatGPT will teach you that. It won't be perfect, obviously. You're not a baby bird with your mouth open waiting for ideas to just fall in. You have to do the fucking work. But it's possible. And at the end of the day, it's, I told him, this is your life. This is your child. This is the mother of your child. You have got to establish a type of equitable relationship with her, and knowing that there's limits to what you are able to do. Again, in my practice, when I work with clients, I remind them all the time, the ones that are, my duos, the ones that are already in relationship with someone, we don't fix broken adults. We just don't. It is not your job ever to fix an adult. You don't fix someone's mental health problems. You don't fix someone's emotional stability. It's not your fucking job. It's their job. If they are not in a position where they can manage their own mind, body, and their own emotional well-being, then an intimate relationship with them is going to be hazardous to both of you. The end. So that having been said, I told him, you have to protect your peace. You have to save your sanity, and you have to go to therapy. And he's like, but really, I really do want this relationship with her. I said, darling, listen, this is the coach part of me. Okay. Sometimes my message is silk and sometimes it's sandpaper. If you really want to be in this relationship with this woman, fine. There's 4 things you have to do ahead of time. Number 1, you have to talk to her and ask her what she wants. Duh. That seems like a no-brainer, but guess what? He still hadn't talked to her. Duh. Number 2, he needs to go to therapy. And obviously there's like 11 billion kinds of therapy out there that could be beneficial. CBT, DBT, EMDR, group therapy, improv and role play therapy, art therapy, music therapy, horse therapy, all kinds of fucking therapy out there. Go find one. I said, you need to go talk to her. 1, you need to be in therapy. 2, she needs to be in therapy. 3. And then number 4, after, I don't know, maybe, 8 to 12 sessions each for both of you, you need to find a couples therapist specifically. And I personally feel that it should be someone separate from the person you see privately. And you need to find a couples therapist who can see you. And then after, 6 sessions, 8 sessions, 10 sessions with a couples therapist, after you all have done the work, then you can make a decision and a determination of whether or not it's a healthy relationship. And he got it. He understood it. He was kind of bummed out, obviously. Like he didn't want that answer, but that's the answer he got. And like I said, it's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to just be what it is. It's supposed to be challenging. And I'm not here to be a bitch about it, but you made the decision to be in this relationship with this person. So now you're in a situation where you have to determine what you're going to do. And, I was incredibly, incredibly proud of him for even being willing to get on my show on TikTok and talk to me about it. I was incredibly proud of him. But again, it just comes down to, we got to do the work for ourselves. No one's going to do it for you. And you can't cheat your way through. You got to do it. So yeah, that was our little bit there. That was one of our big Q&As that came in, is, dealing with a relationship with a co-parent who you may or may not want to be in a lifetime relationship with. It's challenging. And again, I'm not saying it's impossible. And I told him, like, at the end of the day, this is up to you. This is your choice. This is your world. You decide what's going to happen. But you have to remember, no matter what you choose in terms of relationship, you are still the parent of that child. So this is no longer about dating or being in a relationship with her mom, as much as it is finding a way to maintain an equitable system with that co-parent that protects the kid. That's what matters. But that's, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge. Another question that came up, excuse me, God, my throat hurts. Wow. Another question that came up recently was a woman. She was talking about how her husband has ADHD, and she really has no idea how to deal with him sometimes. Like, she gets incredibly frustrated, and he pisses her off, and he doesn't listen, he doesn't follow through, he's always distracted, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not going to get into everything that I said to her and all the advice that I gave because, frankly, you missed it. You should have been on the TikTok. And I'll get into it again because I got to wrap it up. But the bottom line was I needed to make sure it was very clear to her and to the audience that we're talking about two different things. We're talking about you being married to somebody you love, and we're talking about how to cope with the symptoms of ADHD. Those are two separate things because, in my opinion, ADHD is a superpower once you've learned how to master it. And it is sometimes a battle, even when you've lived with it your whole life and you've used all the brain hacks you can. It's still hard. I am speaking from personal experience. I have ADHD. My husband has ADHD. My oldest son has ADHD. It's hereditary. My mom had it. So, managing someone's symptoms when they relate to you is all about hacking the brain. It's about finding the right tools, using the right language, practicing good nonverbal communication like eye contact and hand holding and touch and leveraging technology, using systems like Goblin Tools and Cozy and calendar systems and email reminders and whatever. Like there's all so many tools you can use for ADHD and autistic and anyone who's on the spectrum. But that is a separate conversation from how do I deal with this man that I love and I don't have ADHD and he does, and I'm taking his behavior as an insult, even though I know it's not intended to be. And that's the rub right there. And I let her know, you are allowed to be frustrated with him. You are 100% allowed to be frustrated with him. That doesn't mean you don't love him. If anything, it means you definitely love him. Because if you didn't love him, you wouldn't be frustrated because you wouldn't give a shit. So obviously you love him. But one of the biggest, I don't want to say problems, one of the biggest things that I've noticed when we deal with a couple where one of them has, they're neurospicy and the other one isn't, is that the non-neurospicy person is going about this from the wrong perspective. It's not how do I deal with this partner? That's not the question. And that question is coming from a place of, I am here to, quote, manage this guy or direct this guy or tolerate this guy or, God help you, fix him or adjust him or whatever. Fuck all that. That's not the point. What you're supposed to do, the question you're supposed to ask, the better question, the question beneath the question is, how do I connect with him so that he and I come together and form win-win outcomes to improve our relationship? That's the question. If we don't ask the right question, we don't get the right answer. So if you want a better answer, get a better question. The better question is, hey lady, I'll call her Sarah. Hey lady, hey Sarah, did you ever sit down and ask him what would help him to partner with you so that at the end of the day, the both of you are happier with how the day went? And she's like very sheepish, like, no, it never even occurred to me to ask him that. I'm like, yeah, I know. Because when we're dealing with someone who has ADHD, 99 times out of 100, we treat them like they have an illness. Guess what? It's not an illness. It's a superpower. They're a human being just like anybody else. Just so happens that their brain computes data differently. We have an incredible gift as ADHDers to see patterns where non-neurospicies don't. We see patterns you'll never even understand. And it makes us incredibly powerful, potent leaders and guides into this brave new world, this future that is unknown. We need autistic people. We need ADHD people because they have the understanding. In Hebrew, we call it bina. They have the comprehension of patterns that God created as a challenge for us. And some of us have the tools to see right through it. So we're very important and we're very valuable. It's a superpower. So When you approach your husband and you say, hey, can you and I sit down and talk about how I can help you manage your ADHD so you and I elevate our relationship, you have just opened a door to partnership. You've just opened a door to equitable connection. You've just opened a door to fairness and to kindness and to compassion. And that's never the bad thing to do. So again, I'm I'm going to wrap up, but these are some of the questions that have come up in the last 2 weeks, last week actually. And so come back again, look for the next edition. If you want to follow, don't forget to click the follow button and the bell. Make sure you get all the updates. Check out my podcast, Becoming Better with Naama, on anywhere you love getting podcasts, as well as my website, naamasegal.com. If you do feel like you want to better yourself and get coaching as an individual or as a duo, a dynamic duo, check out my website, naamasegal.com. Go ahead and click the work with me button or free call button and we can get you scheduled. I would love to work with you. And I am looking for podcasts and locations, live and Zoom, that would love to hear me speak. So if you know any community that might want to have me come as a speaker, even via Zoom, shoot me an email. You can contact me through the website or through Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I am available on all of them, and I look forward to getting to know you soon. Let's